Today we're going to talk about the impacts of DeFi and how you can make money using DeFi. I've got a coin that I'm going to reveal. Stay tuned till the very end. And of course, I'm the most open-minded investor/NFT artist on YouTube with a diverse appetite for risky asset classes ranging between shopping centers and shitcoins, but not government bonds, creating contact-led, family-friendly, cookie-accepting, cat-free, technical and specialized tutorials and guidelines to harness the generational wealth transfer found in crypto trends that allows us to believe in Jesus Christ and a fan of Gary and an extremely well-educated and multilingual Korean, but with hair naturally curlier than the average Asian male and highly coveted by many moms and daughters, also known as Kim. And today we start with DeFi Llama, of course. And today is a very, very special day because we have Terra LUNA, who have taken over BSC when it comes to total value locked in the amount of locked funds, I guess, for DeFi. And that is a big milestone because BSC has been around for ages. And Terra LUNA, what could have attributed to this? Well, I think this Anchor protocol had a lot to do with it. So yeah, Anchor protocol is looking very, very interesting in that they had a really, really high yield rate and it was one of the most sustainable ones. I know a lot of you guys like the degen farms and I love it too as well. But for those people who had like chunks of money, like in the six figures, this was a pretty good APY to actually park their money behind. And this actually kind of made some of the people's investment into like, real estate even obsolete because the yields were absolutely skyrocketing. And this is what they could get out of their stablecoin called the UST. So Terra is actually a pretty damn good coin to be actually looking into investing right now. Another thing that I pay strong attention to is market cap over TVL. That means the total value locked on amount of funds that is parked under a particular crypto chain or ecosystem versus the market cap of the coin is the ratio that we're looking at on the right hand side column on DeFi Llama. Now, Ethereum, let's use that as a benchmark, right? The Ethereum is the benchmark. Around that 2.7 to 2.9 mark is what we're looking at. And based on that, we can then identify, do we have a market cap that's way too high versus the amount of value that is locked in there? So this strategy is actually very good because this basically chases the money when it comes to investing into cryptocurrency. So you might remember a video that I've done a few days back and I've done this really interesting chart here. So this one we're looking at AVAX. Okay, so the price of AVAX is in that green. Okay, so I've juxtaposed from May to May, July to July, September to September, and as you can see, we can see that the TVL is actually a good leading indicator for how the price action works out. So and leading indicators are important because what good is it to know what a price of a coin is and then invest in that? I mean, we need an indicator that will come tell us that the cryptocurrency is going to go up in price before it goes up in price, right? So as you can see, clearly the TVL, when it goes up and it peaks out soon after, the price action actually goes up, even when the TVL is decreasing. So when the TVL is decreasing, hitting a bit of a bottom, we can also know that that is the top of the price of the asset as well. So following the TVL, following the money, right, is actually a really good strategy. So we're looking at the case of ETH as well. You can see a very, very strong correlation, strong negative correlation to be able to see that when the TVL goes up, that is actually a really, really good time to be getting into the asset, especially then. So there you have it, guys. So it's a really interesting metric, right? So I'd really be paying attention to it. So what is the market cap to TVL ratio for Terra? We're sitting at 1.5. Okay, that's very, very low, meaning that the market cap isn't large enough to explain how much money has been locked into the ecosystem. So that being the case, BSC is a pretty highly valued coin. It's a bit overvalued to that effect. Avalanche has a bit more room to grow. Phantom is an all-time favorite, and I think in the 1 month change in the TVL is obviously very, very strong. So I think Phantom has a lot more to go. We've got Solana. People love Solana, but I think it's very, very overvalued as well. I know, controversial opinion. Polygon sits sort of on par with Ethereum, which is probably quite standard. Tron could go higher in price as well. Kronos is way too high too. That comes off the back of crypto.com as well. So it really gives you a pretty good snapshot of where coins ought to be. All right. Having said that, Neo protocol is sitting quite overvalued as well, in my opinion. And obviously, things like Kusama, Polkadot are obviously sitting very high as well. Theta, the same story too. So I'll probably keep an eye on the MCAP over TVL ratio quite closely. And that being said, comparing sort of where we ought to be, I started the video saying that Terra LUNA TVL actually exceeded the TVL of BSC. And that being the case, I think Luna has a $22 billion market cap and BNB has $68 billion market cap. So could we potentially be looking at Terra LUNA correcting to where BNB should be and rising above to a potential 3x? I think that could be an opportunity there as well. I know I normally cover Floki, but today I just saw this in Terra and I just had to cover it. Now, looking at the price action for Terra and when you should be executing your trades, we have what's called the Crypto Bowl coming up. So, Crypto Bowl, I was looking at this video, the average 30-second Super Bowl commercial right? 30-second exposure in the Super Bowl actually clocks in at around about $7 million a pop, which is quite expensive. And there's a tradition, this video here talks about how there's a tradition around watching Super Bowl as much as the Super Bowl game itself. So looks like, this is a pretty big deal, leading up to Crypto Bowl, all these exchanges, FTX, you've got crypto.com, you got Coinbase, they're all coming in and running their ads, right? And it's a big deal. We've seen ads come up, with Matt Damon, with crypto.com. So the people want to capitalize on this as best as they can. I think it's really interesting how they're all fighting for this sort of market share. Crypto.com wants a big chunk, Coinbase wants a big chunk, bloody Robinhood wants to get in the game, FTX is a no-brainer. But I think some of these unfortunately will die out. It's a survival of the fittest, with the advertising game, you don't know where it's going to end up, of course. But leading up to Super Bowl, I think the goal and the strategy is that we're going to invest now, then probably buy on the rumor and sell on the news. So on the day of Super Bowl, which is the 13th of February, which is the Super Bowl Sunday, I think a lot of prices will peak on that day and probably start to drop off, much like what happened during Thanksgiving last year. So that being the case, we're looking at the price of Luna at the moment. And overall, we're looking at the Luna following this sort of trend line and using that as a bit of a guide, I think would be really good. At the moment, in the short-term phase, we are looking at the 50 EMA being broken and acting as a bit of a support as well. So those are some good trading decisions that you can make out of it. Now, these boxes that I've drawn, what are they? What are they doing and why are they in there? I've basically marked out all the bottoms, okay? Bottoms of the price actions that we could have gotten into, because right now it is a bear market and we need to make money on the bear market, because in bear markets, like I said, prices don't fall just like that. Prices fall and rise, fall, rise, fall, rise, fall, rise. And in the bear markets, we can still make money off these little bounces that we're making. And that is entirely possible. And the way you do that is by dollar cost averaging and putting in nice buy orders at good price actions as well. So you see this box here, okay? That would have been a good entry for us to get into, because not only was the RSI nice and low, right? But we also saw that was the sort of the resistance and support region that we've seen previously as well. So these are good zones. And if you didn't catch that, that would have been a much more obvious support zone there that we could have gotten into. And even on that small climb that we have seen Luna make, we could have made a cool 14%. So let's say you sort of cap your gains at 10%. These are little gains that you could have made, and definitely you could have then sort of what's called a compound interested. So if you did a 15% gain here and did another 15%, those are some really good opportunities there as well. So obviously keep a close eye on the RSI. We've got this price action here and another price action cutting below the RSI as well. And these are pretty obvious zones of sort of, indecision. Previously, these two peaks and as well as the indecision point here, as well as a long wick, could have gave away an interesting zone for a buy-in. And yes, it did dip further below that, but we had further two opportunities to actually buy into the asset as well, which were also in the zones of very, very interesting and clear indecisions and support zone that was discoverable in the previous price actions that we can see in the chart as well. I know I'm looking at things retrospectively, but this is the way you learn. This is the way you learn how to read charts. And that being the case, if you were to buy into these three different zones that you would have seen, your average cost of acquisition would have sat around this region here where I'm really scribbling the crap out of the graph there. And the peak price action there could have been a whopping 28% gain that we would have seen, which is great. And from that onwards, of course, we've seen some pretty crazy dips happen. And that rectangle there really marked out the strong indecision and support and resistance zones, which then could have activated a buy order in any of your favorite trading platforms. And that could have then given you some profits in this climb here that we've seen as well. That being the case, where are we looking at now? The dip into that support zone was definitely an encouraging one. I think the price action is going to move sideways. I'll be keeping an eye on the support zones and be keeping an eye on the RSI so that when it does dip, there will be my points of entry. If you haven't made an entry at this point, well, that's okay. Your choice is to either get in now or just simply watch the market and observe how it will behave through to the Super Bowl Sunday and see what kind of impact these things will make onto the actual market as a general outlook. Now, Terra LUNA, they made headlines saying that it dipped below $50 about a week ago, but obviously we're at a price action much higher than that because we're sitting at $55 right now as we speak, which is a cool 10% gain from the danger zone that they were talking about as well. Okay, and of course, Terra LUNA is not out of the marketing and the sporting scene, as you can see. Look, I think that, they've got all the fundamentals quite well, right? I think it is a very undervalued token, and I think you'll do quite well out of it. And these are tokens that I'll probably have more faith, investing into these dips, knowing that it has strong fundamentals to actually bring it back up should and when the cryptocurrency markets then recover. My strategy right now will be taking quick profits and taking profits around the support and resistance zones as you see on the graph at the moment. And so with that, make sure you go follow me on all my social pipes. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you go check out my Twitter. Make sure you check out my TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Watch out for the scammers. Go mint my NFT, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.